Creators Game, episode 36. I'm Dale Miller.
Jay Smith.
Chris Vale.
And we're back, and we didn't give you too much of a break because it's only been a week. We're right on schedule. We're filming every Tuesday, so if you're listening to this right now, it is Tuesday. After this, we're going to be hitting to the Chiefs game. But let's talk lacrosse. Before that, let's catch up. What is everyone up to? Who wants to go first?
Hasn't been an outer lacrosse thing, but this weekend was playing in Guelph, and we had a good game, tied a game. We lost 2 and then won 1, and met some fans from Midland, secondhand strings. He's a nice guy, and I believe his brother. They were from Ottawa and traveled all the way down to play for the Midland team, and it was nice just talking lacrosse and playing. It was a hot arena in Guelph, West End, so it was a fun time, and then came back to call the Rivermen games and got to see Jay and yourself doing the music, so we're all kind of band was together, but all in our separate roles this weekend.
Yeah, I had a few camera people out there making sure they're getting some footage of you and getting footage of you, and then have some footage of myself, and we're going to make ourselves a commercial kind of showing what we do outside of the podcast and why this kind of makes sense in front of the camera. But back to your Masters tournament and all your games there. Any points?
I did.
I heard.
It must be. It was a good. I should use that.
You
stick
shook
for the last
lacrosse
10 years.
world. I heard.
Yeah,
you shook the lacrosse world.
The guys from Midland, they were like, "Are you going to talk about scoring that top corner goal on the pod?" And had two Friday night, and then even had one on a Sunday. So 4 on the weekend was pretty good for me.
So where you see yourself next? Where you gonna get drafted to next? Where's it gonna be, Vale? Where's it gonna be?
I don't know. We even pulled off a really nice hit and ball trick in our Saturday afternoon game. It wasn't myself. I didn't pull it off. The other guys.
You were just watching?
Yeah, I was like, somebody's got to have a wife or girlfriend in the stands filming. That was pretty nice. But if the footage has not been seen.
All right. Well, if someone has that footage, make sure you send it to us. What about you? What you been up to?
Tinkering with my boat, getting the motor ready. I had to do a little of adjustment here and there, and other than that, it's been a slow week. Other than our games and being at other teams' games and hearing about Vale becoming a new threat in Masters lacrosse. I mean,
ooh, a threat is it?
I mean, he goes and recruits some pretty good players, and then he ends up being the team leading scorer, even with all these new recruits. I don't know. Maybe might have a Rivermen future for you, Vale.
Maybe I'll pay you the $10. I'll pay you the $10 like a Thursday, right? So it's all good.
How's the boat? When you gonna actually have it on the water?
It's ready for the water.
It's ready for the water. You're just not.
Well, my thing was I bought this boat, and I always go fishing with my cousin, and if I'm on his boat, I can't be on mine. So mine never touched water because I was always fishing with my cousin. But he's been busy. I've been not as busy. So now I'm going to just put my own boat in the water. So actually, I'm going to hit the water in the morning.
Well, speaking of boats, I was on a boat this week.
Oh yeah?
Yes, I was on the Grand River cruise.
Okay.
I actually got the time to go on the Grand River cruise, have a nice little dinner, learn about the Grand River from a lady who stumbled a few times, but you know what? She did what she could, and you could tell she was nervous. I imagine that being in environment where you have like a bunch of like scones, and you got to tell them about like, hey, this is the Grand River, and it's like they're all like looking at you and stuff.
Did you set her straight?
I think people were just looking at her, and that was enough to like kind of throw her off her game. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the Stealth. Let's start there. Who's got some info on the Stealth? I know that they end up losing to Orangeville. However,
like we talked about, me and Jay were watching Thursday's game, but ended up kind of leaving early. They kind of got blown out, I would say, at home, and then went out there Saturday and pressed with like a 10-6 win, and then Sunday, just, I don't know, maybe they just left it all out in Orangeville Saturday night. It was, 6-1, and then they came back and ended up losing 6-4. I don't know.
It was 6-0 when I left.
Yeah, so.
No, you're right, 6-1 when I left, and I just thought the tempo of the game, the way both teams are playing, it was late in the game when I left, and I guess they scored a couple more after I left because obviously the score says that, but I thought, did they wait too long to pour it on? Did they dig themselves too big of a hole? But I mean, one of the coaches had made a social media post, and he's nailed it. To me, he nailed the mindset on the head. Yes, the championship eluded him this year, but the job in C, whether it's junior or senior, is to make the players better to move up to the next level. So I mean, he was right on spot with that one. So hopefully a lot of these guys that are graduating from the Stealth either go to if they're still junior age, are able to make the Rebels, or if they're going into senior, can make the jump. Maybe I'll see them at Rivermen tryouts. I don't know, but they had a good season. I don't know what the expectation was out of the Stealth this year, but to me, making it into the playoffs that far, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and then I know that the Stealth were actually having a lot of players go play for the Rebels as well too. So I hopefully more of that is going to happen on next year as well. Yeah,
there was. I mean, the Rebels ran into penalty and suspension trouble early in the season, and they relied on a lot of the Stealth players, and they stepped up. They stepped up and filled that void while the players served their suspension or injuries or whatever they were going through. So yeah, kudos to the Stealth. Kudos to Jason Henhock, Bo Henhock, Kelly Henhock. I think Cub McNaughton was on the bench as well. The whole bench staff, they did great this year.
Yeah, I was there. I had to go hold it down for a little bit. I had one of my coworkers there holding down the music. I had to go check on him, make sure he was good. He was all equipped with everything that he needed. And then I had to go to the Arrows game after that. And but what did you guys think about the environment of the game? Orangeville fans, did you think that they were too much? I thought, I was sitting there amongst the fans. I didn't think they were, out of hand. However, they were winning, so there was kind of no reason to be out of hand.
That was the only playoff game that I got to see of the Stealth at home. So, Orangeville fans, when they come here, are generally pretty well behaved. Not to say they're not well behaved in their own barn, but my experience may or may not speak otherwise. But no, Orangeville, I mean, it was a chippy game on the floor. It always is. Whether you're playing any team in the playoffs, it's chippy. But Orangeville fans, shout out to them. They held it down. Of course, they get excited. Like I said, are they as passionate about their teams as we are about ours? And if they are, me personally, I can't really get on their case about that.
We said, too, it was like the only game that wasn't a minor game played at the Six Nation Memorial Cultural Center this year, right? Like there was no Rivermen, Stealth didn't play there at all, or not any other teams, right? So that was kind of the first GPA game of higher caliber than minor, and also too, right? Do or die game seemed to be packed the house, and that was the most watched game of the weekend crowd wise.
Yeah, it was packed, and a lot of players that I've talked to have said they like playing there because it is a smaller venue, but the seats are right there. Like the crowd is right on you, and they love the environment. It's electric. That's how it's been described. The crowd that goes there is electric.
Yeah, just sitting there, being amongst the fans that one game. Like I can definitely feel the difference because the aisle is much bigger. You hear the reverb, you hear the echo. You have a lot more seats to fill, so it can kind of make it seem like it's dead in there. However, it's not. But you go to the GPA or the Six Nations Memorial Cultural Center, and you don't need as many people to pack it. And then even when they're cheering, you can have 10 people in there, and it'll sound like it's more people cheering. However, of course, it was packed that night.
Well, it's like the Civic Center. It's bigger than the ILA, so you can get 200 fans at the Six Nations Sports Memorial Cultural Center, and it's packed. You take that same amount, and put them in the ILA, it's kind of sparse. You take them to the Civic Center, and it looks empty because it's just the venue size. But I mean, I went to a couple of games at the Civic Center this year, and there was good crowds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Warriors are bringing out some good crowds. Yeah. And of course, all the other Can-Am teams are part of it as well. Mm-hmm. Any last comments on the Stealth season? Any words of wisdom for some of the players? Some highlights? Anything like that you guys want to say for the Stealth?
I think they had to go to Huntsville, and I think they had another game at home, I believe, or it might have even been another road one that one weekend where pretty much their whole team was suspended from a fight in Halton Hills at the end of the game, and they ended up then coming in the next weekend with, like we talk about Rebels, they can call up from Junior C, but Junior C can only call up from minor. So I think they only had called up a couple of U21 players and a lot of that midget team, and I guess a lot of players performed good at that higher level. They won those two games, and then one of them, the goalie, ended up staying with them for a little longer, and even we'll probably get into it, filled in last night a bit.
Yeah, that's big because, you think about it, without, no one wants suspensions, but, without those suspensions, without, spots opening up and allowing players to AP up, then like those players might not have gotten that chance, or maybe they didn't think they had the confidence to do it. A lot of times they'll be like, oh, I'm not even gonna try to go for juniors because I'm not big enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not whatever they think they are. But maybe there's a coach out there that can see their value, and once they get on the floor, you're like, oh yeah, I'll put them in the place, they know what to do, and everything will be all right. So it's good to see that, these not younger players, but other players are getting to move up as well.
And plus, too, like you said, a lot of people are here, big families. Like there was a couple, like that weekend too, even one of the minor players got to play with his uncle, close in age, right? And got to, then maybe if he doesn't get called up, he doesn't get the chance to ever play junior with his uncle. So that's cool stuff. A lot of family aspects of games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now let's move on to the Rebels. Would you guys think of the Rebels last, let's say 2 games? Because they just lost last night.
Rebels are playing against my my favorite team that some would say I love to hate. I'll just clear the air. I don't hate Allora. I just maybe don't agree with some of the stuff they do, say, act, feel.
You're just not a fan of them.
I'm a fan of the game of lacrosse, and I know they have good players. They've always had good players, even going back to the 50s. They've had good players, good teams. I'll give them that. I don't necessarily think it's on the players. They do represent their community. I get it, and just like our players represent our community. But at what point do we somehow put a stop to this? Let's hate this organization. Let's hate this town. Let's hate this community, because the fight will always be there. Yeah, I understand rivalries, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. I get caught up in it. I get caught up in the anger and the hate and all of that stuff. And it doesn't change my opinion of the way the crowd in Allora treats Six Nations teams or their fans. So last night, I don't know what was to be expected. There was a good crowd at the game. Access to their bench was cordoned off, and I understand that. I get it. But there wasn't really any fan, I won't say interaction, but there wasn't any rowdy fans, so to speak. I know that they were kind of watching fans in a parking lot, because what I perceived as Allora fans drinking in the parking lot at the ILA, which they come down on you pretty hard at the ILA if they catch you. I've seen maintenance and security there stop people at the door and say, you're not coming in. Whether that happened, I don't know. Maybe what I saw, maybe they weren't drinking alcohol. I don't know. I mean, it's not to say they can't, but you're not supposed to drink it at OLA events. And some teams have beer gardens. I get that. They're licensed. But at the ILA, it says no drinking. It says that on signs at the end of the road. Having said that, I still have friends in Allora. Hopefully they're still my friends. But there was a lot of rumors going around. I had talked about it. I had talked to Chris about it. I had talked to you about it. General manager of the Rebels kind of put the kibosh on one of the rumors. So if I've spread false information, I can only spread what was given to me. If it was false, I'm sorry for that. But the rumor was the Rebels didn't have a dressing room when they went to Allora. I'm being told that yes, they did. They just chose to go outside. There was tents outside. So, but stuff I was getting told was from the players themselves. So I don't know what's right, what's wrong. Maybe I got to be a better journalist and do a little better research. But who's got time for that, really?
Well, okay. No, let's go back to that. Did you also hear what he's referring to, that the Rebels may or may have not had a dressing room? Did you also hear that?
Yeah, I heard that too.
And then what did you hear from the players? Because the management said is different than what the players said, apparently. So.
Yeah, I didn't hear it from the players, but just other people though that wasn't Jay that said they didn't have it. I don't know if because was there pictures, I guess, of them kind of being outside, so that's what people thought. But I guess it was more or less they went outside during the breaks. Because I asked the same thing, I'm like, hey, they didn't get in trouble for that, and they were like, oh no, we did have change rooms and we did change in it, but then during intermissions we were sitting outside in the tents. So.
Yeah, I could see that. Hopefully that's probably what happened.
Yeah, it'd probably a big fine if
I would imagine.
I 100% agree that if that's where this came from. Again, I wasn't there. I can only go by what I'm told. So if that was misinterpreted, especially by me. I can apologize for me. I can't apologize for anybody else that has said this, has shared this. I can apologize for me. But it doesn't change the fact, because like I said many episodes before, I was a member of the Rebels executive. I was a Rebels parent. I had a player that played. I know how our junior B team is treated out there. I've seen it firsthand. I was in the crowd firsthand. I've heard the comments. Have they stopped with that at all this year? I don't know, because I haven't went out there, because sometimes I just don't want to have to deal with it. I've chosen not to go to any games that the Rebels have had in Allora for the sole purpose of A, I don't want to get wrapped up in all the BS, and B, it's kind of a long drive, so some nights I just don't want to go.
Yeah, that's fair. Allora is a long drive, and I can understand that. Like, this is even a good conversation for this whole podcast. We go out here and we critique teams. We talk about our opinions. We talk about how we feel. And, sometimes we stand by them, and sometimes we apologize because we're given misinformation. And, that's completely fine. But, I don't think that you should have to not want to go to Allora or anything like that. Not to say that you're saying that, but, for any of us, when we make jokes, when I make jokes and stuff like that, being like, oh, I wonder if it's safe to go there, it's more or less for entertainment. So hopefully when the viewers are listening to us, when they're watching this now, they're like, oh, yeah, they can kind of get the spiel of it. And they don't feel like it's on site when I see Jay Smith, because it's really not like that. It's not on site. We're here to entertain people.
I was always very taken back when I started working at the store was people calling, asking if it was safe for them to come to the reserve, and, hey, we want to come watch this junior B team play the Rebels. Is it safe if we go? And I was like, and I was taken back by yeah, it's a great place to watch. And nothing's going to happen to you. You can come watch. And like I said, and I haven't had one of those calls in a long time, but just that 2018 summer, I had got a couple of those, and I was like I said, very taken back.
2018, geez.
Yeah.
Those were the days, I guess.
Yeah. You know what I always hear? And I think I've probably said it myself over the years, come to our barn and act like that. Mm-hmm. You've heard players, you've heard parents, you've heard coaches, you've heard people in the crowd say that when they're at an away game in another team's home barn and whatever's going on, crowd is rowdy, game's getting out of hand, you hear that so often. Come to our barn and act like that. I've only think I've seen maybe one or two fights in the crowd at the ILA since it was built, and it wasn't a big 100 people versus 100 people brawl. It was one or two people here or there. But going to away games, I've seen big fights. I was in the crowd when the big fight between the Arrows and Whitby happened a few years ago. I've seen big fights at an Elora game, even at a Jr.C. Fergus game. I've seen huge crowd fights, and I've heard it every time. Why don't you come to our barn and act like that, or see if you can, or see if you will? So is it a home crowd acting up and versus away crowd acting up? I don't know. Yeah,
I just think it's lacrosse is it's very ego driven. There's a lot of testosterone in the room.
There is.
You got to kind of find your place and kind of be able to read the room. So hopefully, when you're coming to the arena, you can read the room and understand that in the moment, everyone is upset because of a play didn't go the way they wanted to, or a call wasn't called. However, once they leave there, they're like, that was a little much. Yeah, I was acting up a little bit, but I was upset, and that's cool. That's great. That's awesome.
Well, there's certain arenas you can walk in and you can feel the tension right away. That's one of them. I hate to say it, but for me, walking into the Allora arena, and I haven't in about a year and a half or two, you can feel it. You can. I mean, I've had one person message me today, and again, I'm getting it third party, so right, it's hearsay, but apparently somebody was in the crowd in Allora shouting "White Power."
Oh, hey.
So is there truth to that? Is there video evidence? Send it to us. Don't post it because you may get suspended.
Yeah, I don't know. If someone's in the crowd screaming that's a little too much, and they cannot read the room.
Chanting, screaming "White Power." Then the next word, are they saying "Let's go Mohawks"? Oh no, just Hawks now.
I don't know. We're gonna be pushing a lot of buttons this episode.
And I don't give two squirts of dog piss.
The shirt said "Fly Hawks" or "Hawks Fly" or something like that. I seen.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on, but yeah, with I was there also, and at the Elora game, I thought everything was fine. I didn't think anyone acted up, and I didn't expect anyone to act up because of course there's police there, and they did have it all like sectioned off. However, let's go back to how when the rebels were in Allora, weren't you guys saying that like basically it was kind of like Allora's police task force was just like a bunch of lacrosse dads or something like that?
That's what it looked like to me. Just looking at the picture, it didn't look like anything that was like let's say like you hire those groups that maybe do the supermarkets or LCBOs and stuff like that, and like it just looked like a bunch of dads that just had security on a black shirt.
I don't know. I know at the game last night there was 2 police officers near where I was. I don't know if there was any more throughout the building, but there was 2 police officers there, and they've both played lacrosse at very high level, so they kind of know the crowd's not going to act up.
Yeah, it's kind of like a thing where when you walk into that environment, you got to read the room. You got to know everyone's there just having a good time. They're going to get passionate because that's how the game goes. And once you leave there, you leave it on the floor and you go home and you have a good time. And that's pretty much it. Well,
and the product on the floor last night was a good game. It was back and forth. I mean, the Rebels didn't come out on the winning side, but they lost by 2 goals. And, at one point they were down, 7-1 at the end of the first or something like that?
It looked like it could have really gotten away from them, right? And I think they came all the way back. It was either 7-6 or 8-7, but they still came all the way back to be down 1. And then I believe what happened was it looked like about one of the players, 93, I thought was about to be wide open, maybe get a pass, but here a Rebels player went on the floor, too many men, went up the other end, and Allora scored. And then they went on a bit of a run, and then the other guys came all the way back and was back in down 1 again.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a good game. I think they dug themselves a hole by being down 7-1 at the end of the first. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there was chippiness. There was a little bit of chippiness there on both sides. I seen questionable things happen on both sides behind the plays, and I mean that's Junior B playoff lacrosse. Little scrum happened in front of me. Guy lost his helmet. Somehow Rebels helmet ended up on the Allora bench. Don't know. Wasn't paying attention. But it was a good game. I thought it was a good game. As far as entertainment, it was a great game. Let's just hope they play tomorrow night, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just hope that they can dig that out and bring one back home.
Reverse sweep. Because like you said, they hit a couple posts at the end too, and like they were down 2 with like a minute 30 left and hit a couple of posts, made a save, and then a couple of times too they got to remember Elora's going to the box. They can't take the penalty as well. I think they were down the 1 again, I think late in the game, and Allora got a penalty, but then Rebels guy didn't like his guy getting high hit. They both go to the box 4-on-4, Allora scores. So you got to remember, hey, sometimes there's a time when to act up, and sometimes you can't do it all every time, right?
I got to give a shout out to Jr.C Hill. He's a small kid, but the fire and passion that he brings, I mean, I think he scored the game's first goal or the Rebels' first goal, and he was everywhere last night. And for a kid that is that small, little brother of Thunderhill, I said it a couple times last night. I said the kid plays just like his brother, and not to jump ahead, but Thunder is not a big man himself, but yet he's leading Senior B in scoring. So if any team can get their hands on those guys as they grow up, you're sitting on gold.
Yeah, I seen towards I think it was in the third period, there was a time where it was like 10-12. Mm-hmm. Like it got very close, and then there was like one shift there where I think it was I think his name is Mitch Venivri. He was like taking he had like 3 or 4 solid shots, and he was hitting the post every time, just like so close. And I was sitting, I was like because he's like one after, and then on the bench you could hear him shoot again, you almost got it, and then he didn't end up getting it, but that was exciting just to see that the accuracy.
He's a good player too. I mean, he had to take some time off because of a knee injury, but it's good to see him back and good to see him playing at a high caliber. And yeah, he is a good player. He's known for that shot. He's always been known for that shot. Even when he was little, he had a good shot. Yeah,
I noticed. He did have the knee brace, and I seen he had to get transition back on D, and then he was a little, he's slower because he had the brace on. You could tell he was sore. And at first, I thought for his size, I was like, oh, he's got to be he's playing D or something like that. because he's bigger. But then once I seen him shoot, I was like, oh, okay, no, that's an offense player. Or we're playing both, whatever.
Yeah, he's always been a good player, like he always has.
But yeah, would any last minute thoughts on the Rebels before when's their next game? Tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, so that would be Wednesday, July 9th. Holy heck, I'm a month behind.
Their player of the game, the Hill Miracle Hill, the
Kalijah?
goalie. Yeah, like first year U17, I should say U17, not midget, but U17 goalie, right? And he got in that game and kind of
on the midget 2 team.
Yeah, midget 2 team first year, and he was the goalie before that. Got his shot with the Stealth during suspensions, and they kept him up and threw him in a couple of games. And then now the Rebels decided in this series, hey, we're going to call him up, and they needed him last night, and he went in and did good. Especially like you said, he's only a first year.
Yeah,
in that age group. So
and especially because there was a lot of goals in the very first period. So it's not like he's being thrown in the game in the perfect position, right? And then for him to allow his team to come back as much as they did, because they didn't win, but to hold it down, that was pretty cool.
They could have really let it get out of hand, and at least they, like you said, made a good game for the fans and everything.
Yeah, it could have got really kind of like dragged out, and it could have been a long game.
Well, I was watching Allora in that first period, and you can tell that they've studied. The starting goaltender was Connor Waller, and Connor's usually pretty consistent, but you can tell Allora studied him and how to beat him.
They were shooting low every time.
Yes, they were. Glove side. 5 of those goals were glove side. And I'm not saying that's Connor's weakness, because I don't know, because I've seen him play some stellar games. But they did their homework, and out of those first 7 goals, 5 of them were in the same spot. So did they do their homework on Connor? I think they did. But, I mean, I still give shout-outs to Connor, because he's 99% of the time very consistent in net.
And like you said, he played a big part and was player of the game in a lot of that Hamilton series when he had to step up and
he had to go in.
Yeah. And then he helped them, especially in that game 2 and 3, right? The sweep. So.
And then we still kind of have to give it to Allora. They're a good team.
They are.
They're a solid team. They're good sized players out there. They're all fast. They were like in the warm up. They were doing football activities in like unison. I was like, I don't know what this is, but they're out there playing football. We're over here practicing for a lacrosse game. But they were doing their thing though.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. They're a very talented team, and obviously they're very disciplined when it comes to doing their warm-ups, doing their drills. I mean, you don't get that kind of camaraderie if you're not doing team building outside of the game too. So, I mean, yeah, shout out to Allora for putting that product on the floor. Again, my issue's not with the product on the floor. My issue is with crowd treatment.
And are they farm boys? Like Elora's like that, right?
Elora's pretty small town, but I mean they do pull from where? Chris Center, Wellington, Fergus, all those places.
Even that Elmira towns, like you said, even all those other kind of smaller towns. That Evan McDougall, he seems to be their big player, kind of not a bigger sized guy. He's kind of a smaller. And he played Junior C with his brother as I think he was still maybe in minor at the time, and he led Junior C in points back in 2022 or 2023. He led Junior C in points, and he had 144 points going into last night's game. And he was Orangeville draft pick, played a few games Junior A. And I know this year, I don't know, maybe because he's committed to playing for his hometown, Allora. I think he's a Fergus kid, but playing kind of for that local Junior B team, Orangeville traded him to Mimico at the trade deadline. So he could definitely play Junior A if he wanted.
The encyclopedia of lacrosse over there. Just drop knowledge. I knew nothing about that lad right there.
The Cliff Clavin.
Cliff Clavin. All right. Yeah, that was important to talk about the goalie stuff, because I noticed that too. Like, even for what was it? Connor Waller?
Connor Waller, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of advice would you? So after he came off, obviously he's upset, and then it kind of gets quiet, and all you hear is just him throw his helmet against, I'm assuming the bench or the wall or something, and here just like, fuck or whatever, screaming. What, as a coach, what would be the first thing that you would go up and say to him? And once you give him his time to cool down, what's the first thing?
I was going to say I wouldn't go up to say anything to him right away. Let him cool down, because any goalie, any player that gets pulled when they're doing bad, they're going to beat themselves up more than anybody else on the team is going to. And yes, crowds get on goaltenders too when they're having a bad game. Connor is very passionate about playing in net. He wants to get in with. He'll get shots wherever he can. I remember he was 14, and jumped in that we were short a goalie in Senior C. And he was just happened to be there. I said, "Yeah, get your pads on." So he's a little kid out there taking shots from grown men. That's just how dedicated he is to the position and to the sport. So Connor can pull himself out of that funk because he's been in situations. I mean, he's been on Junior C rosters, Junior B rosters, Junior A rosters. He's been around. He knows how to get himself out of that, and I don't think it would take much advice to help him pull out of that because he rebounds pretty quickly. Like Chris said, he went in the Hamilton series pretty much cold and helped him salvage game 2 and played game 3. So he has the abilities. Everybody has a bad game every so often, and that's all I would reiterate to him is don't get down on yourself. Everybody has a bad game. And Kalijah went in and helped salvage, kept it respectable, and so shout out to Kalijah too. I think they're a pretty good goaltending duo, but I think Connor will be fine. He'll get back in his head and get back in his heart, and he'll be fine.
There we go. Yeah, and then you said the next game is tomorrow, which would be Wednesday. Okay.
July 9th.
July 9th, because we are filming on July 8th, Tuesday. But let's get right back into it. So we got through the Rebels. Let's get into the Arrows. How'd you guys feel about the last game there? They played St. Catharines.
I wasn't there, so you'll have to tell us your thoughts and feelings.
Oh, I think, didn't they lose by quite a bit? Yeah.
Like you were saying, the goalie was really good on St. Catharines.
Oh, yes. The goalie for St. Catharines, phenomenal. He held his own, obviously. And St. Catharines kind of reminds me of Allora. I feel like, like Country Boys or something like that.
They have a pretty big area to draw from, too. Like Niagara, there's other centers, minor centers in the Niagara region. There's Fort Erie.
Niagara on the Lake. Pelham, I should say.
Pelham, yeah. Grimsby, Welland. Welland does have a Junior B team. I can't remember if they folded their minor organization or not, though.
So they
didn't, because Welland was playing at the Confederacy Challenge here.
Yeah, so it's weird. Welland went to Pelham, so they're the Pelham Raiders, but then the Welland Canadians Junior B became the Welland Raiders. But I guess they like that arena because the gentleman owns both the Canadians hockey team and, they were Welland Generals, for Junior B, and now they're the Raiders. So they went full rebrand this year to be like Pelham Minor, but kept the Welland name since that they used the same arena they do for the hockey team the guy owns for the lacrosse. So,
well, years ago they were the Welland Raiders too.
And isn't there talks of? I always hear rumbles even from people in Pelham that I know the owner doesn't want to drop down the Welland Junior B team to the Junior C, but there's always been talks where they would like to see. They were 1-19 this year. It was kind of a rough season. So they were kind of saying if they went Junior C, then maybe, hey, if Welland Raiders is Junior C, then they can AP and kind of affiliate with the Athletics Junior B and Athletics Junior A.
And then doesn't Lincoln have a minor organization?
Yep. They're the Redcoats.
Yeah, so there's a lot of minor organizations in the Niagara area, but when you get to junior, they funnel into two teams for Junior B. And as Chris said, the Welland only went 1-19. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So a lot of kids are going to try to play on the St. Catharines Junior B team, which will then hopefully they make the St. Catharines Junior A team. But when it comes to Junior A, all of those kids, if they're good enough, can leapfrog both them B teams and make the A team.
And then, like you said too, even like those smaller towns, like those towns that don't have lacrosse, right? Thorold, and because that seems to be the thing about Ontario is like some of those small towns all have hockey, but all those small towns don't have lacrosse, so then they just go to the next center. Well,
Simcoe is a prime example. Simcoe has a minor lacrosse organization, but they don't have many teams. And a lot of the kids that play for Simcoe are like Waterford. Again, some of them come from the Niagara region. Yeah. Based on where they are, they might be in the Niagara County, but Simcoe might actually be closer. Delhi, all those places. And then you get kids from some are even could be from Woodstock, Ingersoll, even though London might be closer. I know of one kid that would come from St. Thomas to come all the way here to play.
And there's even a couple of Dunnville people I've met that play for Pelham.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of farm kids that are potentially on these teams, but St. Catharines Junior A has the monopoly on the Niagara region as far as Junior A players. And just like any other junior team, there's always trades going on, stuff like that. So kids get sent. Burlington kid could end up in St. Catharines and vice versa, right?
Because like you said, too, they get the automatic bid into the Minto. So like Jay said, they've made a lot of trades this year.
They want to go in not just as the host. They want to go in as potential OLA champions.
Yeah, I seen some St. Catharines veterans and the fans there.
Mm-hmm.
Some Chief players were there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming cheering on the hometown team. Well, not the hometown team. It'd be their hometown team. Hometown team.
Mm-hmm. Potentially, yeah.
Yeah. But it was a great crowd. A lot of people out. But yeah, I don't know what was going on, actually, to be honest.
Do we say kind of almost like the little bit of knock on the arrows is too much outside shooting on these bigger, better goalies, and maybe some of these kids need to get more into the middle? And some of them are kind of just trying to pick corners from the outside, but it's tough when you have a big goalie and he's doing good. And
also, another thing, what about how many players did they have suspended that game or sitting out? Because I seen a bunch of players that were sitting out that normally are playing.
Did Daylin John Hill not play? I can't remember.
And I think
now.
Porter was sitting out as well. So there's just
a couple of marquee players.
Yeah.
Daylin John Hill was leading the team, so yeah, you're right. And then,
but so that's what I'm asking. Were they suspended or something like that? Or
the Daylin John probably maybe it was like last 2 minutes of that fight or whatever, which even hit Barstool Sports now.
I was going to say, was there not a fight the week before or a few days before that with Orangeville?
Yep.
Do we have breaking news with Barstool Sports?
Yeah, that's the second thing they've shared from Lax Tilly. Before, it was the weekend before. I did not read the article of the BC teams where they were like, this team's really senior B, and that player I think it was New West Senior B was in the. He didn't just Danny Vice Grand River Warriors the guy. He went right on the bench and started punching players.
Oh, legend!
And that was on Barstool. And then now the Arrows, Daylin John Hill, that's talking about how it was a good fight. And like I said, he really went after Liam Matthews, but the guy Donnie Scott kind of came in to defend his goal scoring player.
Mm-hmm.
So, back to the OLA Code of Conduct talk. Do you think that anything's going to happen to Barstool Sports? They're a large conglomerate. If you want to go after someone, that would be the person.
Well, they're not in the OL. They're not members of the OLA, so I don't see how they could anyway.
No.
Shout out Ottawa Capitals Twitter, because he's always very funny on social media. Even a fight on Instagram today, he says, remember, we do not condone, that's his tagline, we do not condone fighting. And as he shares the post, and he was the one that he shared the Barstool thing and said, are they going to go after just small accounts, or are they going to drop a lawsuit on a bigger conglomerate as Barstool Sports is?
Well, that's usually what, people will try to do. They'll go after the small guys, and then they won't go after someone who is actually someone who can defend themselves type of thing. Or that they think they can. Because
Ottawa Capitals, he runs the travel team in Ottawa, and he's very he pushes hard for Ottawa lacrosse, right? Even sharing players now that everybody votes down to P and getting Junior A, so he's very publicizes the different Ottawa players on different other teams and Junior A teams. And one was funny, it was a Whippy. I think it was Whippy was the team, and he was a couple guys from Ottawa, and then he's parentheses this is a parental photograph, please don't.
This is a parental?
Yeah. That the parent took the picture, right? Just hey, don't sue us, OLA, for posting a picture of the two kids from Ottawa that play for Whippy because it's your team.
It's almost going to be a joke. Imagine if it makes it to real big headlines. That's that could actually grow the game. It goes into some big headlines, and really large conglomerates start making fun of it, being do they not know how the law works?
You hit it here first.
I don't know, man. It's just, yeah. But any go ahead.
So then also too for the Arrows, right? Obviously, like I said, seemed to be losing both tough games on the weekend. It looks like they've slipped a little from second, and potentially may have to see St. Catharines in the playoffs or Peterborough. Peterborough did the reverse sweep and beat the Arrows last year in the first round, so they did handle them this year, but could be a good first round matchup either way. Maybe tough, right? And they play Burlington tomorrow in Burlington to finish the season off.
And then so let's say Arrows come back, beat are not even in the playoffs, correct?
This is just a last regular season game tomorrow.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay, I'm gonna hold off on that one.
Yeah.
Any last minute comments there on the arrows there?
There's a lot of knowledge on that bench. They'll get them back to their winning ways. I think they're going to go easily past the first round. If it's Peterborough again, they have a little bit of revenge to seek on Peterborough.
Mm-hmm.
These St. Catharines losses in regular season, if they have to play St. Catharines first, I think it'll be a darn good series. And I'm going to say either team, Peterborough or St. Catharines, whoever the Arrows get first, I'm going to go with the Arrows.
You know what would be interesting is now that like we're in the playoffs, and if we can keep going like weekly, getting the pod going weekly, what if like let's say, like you said, Peterborough plays Arrows first round of the playoffs. What if we have a Peterborough player and an Arrows player kind of before the game give us a breakdown how they think it's going to go or something like that?
If Peterborough and Arrows have players that are willing.
Like almost like the UFC, like a press conference,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like Dana White sitting there in between, but it's like us three.
It's not Dana White, it's Dale Miller.
Well, no, I said us three because we would have one on this side and one on that side, and then like they could stare at each other if they wanted to. I don't know, that'd be kind of weird.
Do we have the budget for security so Chris can get back and forth to his limousine?
Which
untouched?
I was gonna say
Day was already at the last game. He knows those teams do not like each other, Peterborough and Arrows, right?
I'm sure they can keep it together for the sake of the pod.
Yeah.
For the sake of the pod, we can we have to grow this game, man.
I'm trying.
Yeah. I think that would be great for it to actually have like something like that, where or even like the Rebels. They're a little bit younger, maybe more tameable. I don't know. Actually, no, same age.
Still, and the Arrows are still a very young team. Like they had their senior night. They only have about 4 players. The goalie, Swamp, Dalton Kane, who I guess took a big break from lacrosse, really pursuing hockey, and now he's going to go to Albany this year. I guess this was his first time playing first and last summer playing junior lacrosse. The number 11, the really good D guy. So yeah, they don't like they bring a lot back because of those Kenny Porters and Joe Squires and Hodo Martins being only 30-year juniors. They still have them for 2 more seasons after this, and have his like players like Jay's talking about, Chaz Hill, Nolo Squire, guys from the Rebels, right? Maybe they move up next season, and they're only in their second year at the moment. So this isn't the make or break year for the Arrows, but it's another stepping stone building year.
Well, it should be interesting. Let's move on to the Rivermen. How did the weekend play out for you guys?
Weekend went well. We had our last 2 home games of the season back to back, but I mean it came out very favorable for us. We went to Hamilton the week before and we lost a close one, and so it was a bit of revenge time. And Hamilton came to our barn, and it was a good game back and forth. Got a little chippy at times, but we pulled off the W against Hamilton. They brought in a new goaltender, and I wanted to see how our guys fared against their second NLL goaltender that they've signed. We beat them. Was 11-9. Chris was actually commentating that game.
I was very impressed with the game. Like I said, I was like, this is a revenge game for them. And Hamilton posted their goalie Aiden Walsh from Vancouver, who now is traded to Calgary. He was part of the Del Bianco trade. He had to stick out the year with the Vancouver, and once the season was done, he was the future considerations. So, and like you said, he's actually, you guys technically lost to Andrew Kidd. He's Dougie Jameson's backup in Albany, where Aiden Walsh has been a 3-year NLL starter. So you might have beaten the better goalie.
Well, here's the thing, and not taking anything away from Hamilton the game before, not taking anything away from Kidd. It happened last year too at the Super Series weekend is when it's scheduled so that Rivermen go and play Hamilton, and it's fun. There's a lot of kids there for the Super Series. I get it. Hamilton wants the crowd. They want the kids there. They want to put on a good show. They beat us last year at that game too, and they beat us this year at it. For us, for me anyways, I can't speak for everybody on the Rivermen bench and executive, but for me, it was basically that's the measuring stick. That game kind of tells us, okay, which way are we going to go with what players? Because right after that, our final rosters are due. And I remember last year, it wasn't said this year, but last year, our head coach at the time had said in the dressing room, this is the make or break game. Some of you will not be on this team after this game. And it just so happens that it falls a few days before final rosters are due. So it kind of is the make or break game in some cases. But Kid put on a good show that night, and they did beat us. I think it was the same score as we beat them this time, 11-9.
12-10, I thought.
12, yeah, you're right, yeah.
But like you said, it was like my thing was like Hamilton liked to shoot from the outside, but like even me and Jay were talking about after the game, would you like to go cut the middle versus their defense? It's a stout veteran defense. And like you said, between guys, like you said, the Crans, the Rods, the Marcuses have been there since almost the beginning of Rivermen, if not the beginning. Ty Logan, Tyson Bomberry. These are also veterans, NL experience. Blake McDonald. Right? Like these are guys that have won Mans and Mintos and
Mason Hill.
Everything.
Young Mason Hill.
Yeah.
He's been with the team for a few years. He's getting that veteran status.
Mason Hill, I was like, I heard your guys' offense coordinator Roger a handful of times tell him on the Sunday game, stay up and play offense. And that's what I was like, he's a player that started off as a forward in junior, switched his last year in Arrows, and he did score in that game.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, even kind of going home, and I was like kind of in my head counting your guys' forwards and D guys, I'm like, you're just such a deep team. One of my key players, Davin Bomberry, didn't play. I was like, I'm naming off.
Hear his voice. One of my key players.
I said, here's some 3 guys to watch in this game, and then next thing I know, I had to be like, I want to go back. One of my key players isn't playing, but they're deep. David Anderson.
Yes,
that's a pickup.
See, I told you guys. You kept asking any new players. I got maybe. Yes, we did pick up David Anderson. With he goes to Yale. He had went to, was it Culver?
Culver Military. Yeah.
He plays with Coburg in MSL. Great player. Even in MSL, he's getting 2-3 goals a game, and he wanted to join us for a President's Cup run. So we picked him up, and he. Immediate impact against Hamilton. Would he have 3, 4? He was
just lighting the lamp all weekend, and then you figure even in that Sunday game, he picked off like 2 beautiful passes and pretty much like had similar where he fired one down to Bowhunter and Bowhunter scores, and then he on the other side picks off another pass, fires it down the Thunder. Where I'm like, hey, instead of this guy picking it off and taking that outside shot, he's noticing, hey, there's a guy down there wide open. Let me pass it to him first.
Well, the thing is, like even with Zach Hairwires. He played with David last year because he was MSL Coburg. So they're familiar with each other. So in the Hamilton game, if you notice, they did do a lot of back and forth with them two. And Thunder now having his MSL rights traded to Coburg has now had a few games at the MSL level with David as well. So Thunder said he likes playing with him. David said he likes playing with Thunder, and
you can see that connection. It's not just the Rossi Hill Thunder show; it might be the David Anderson.
Well,
Thunder
and
show,
Rossi, right? to Rossi's defense, he's still shaking the rust off a little bit. He was out for many weeks with a wrist injury. He'd hurt it cross checking somebody, wrist bent wrong way. He was out for like almost 2 months.
And he did good in the Sunday game when he got in the lineup. I know Steven too. I was like, I said I had a coach back in the day saying everybody has to play defense, including the attackman when you ride, and that's when he was right on that guy and ended up taking the ball away from him and stuff and got him back. So.
One thing I am curious about in our Hamilton game though, there was a Hamilton player. You know, he's gets under your skin a lot. He has a brother on our team. Had got a major penalty for spearing. I was told he got 3 games. We get to our Sunday game, and we're told that his suspension got reduced to 1, and that Zach Hairwires got a suspension. Where when Hairwires didn't even have a penalty called in that incident. So I don't know how that works anymore.
And even like you said, being on the broadcast, I didn't even notice anything Zach did there. Where the other player was very obvious. It was on top of the floor key area, I guess you'd say, right? Where the high sticking, and then that player ejecting, right? Plus, too, then at the end, you even had the faceoff guy, Hag, get tossed from the game, and then you guys were cleanly winning the faceoffs, which then brings me to Aiden Fern going like 100. I think pretty sure he went 100%.
Aiden Fern didn't play on Saturday.
No, on the Sunday game.
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Because, like I said, you guys were winning a lot. You guys were still winning a lot of the draws with, you guys would you'd go Tyson Bomberry one draw, Brooker the next draw, Brooker another one, then Tyson again. And then we were like, this is a face-off guy's dream, these tie-ups. And then next thing you know, Hag got tossed, and then, I don't know, wherever their next player was they just threw up there. Then you guys were kind of winning them clean at the end. But then, like you said, you threw an Aiden Fern out there to take all the draws.
On Sunday, yeah.
And like I said, I think he went 100%. He was...
Well, that's why he's there.
Yeah. I was like, I'm like, he's still 100% right now, but even if he loses a couple and gets down to 75, that's still amazing.
Oh, for
tons
sure.
of extra possessions your team gets from the draws you guys win.
And, you know, I shout out to all players that played on the weekend with that heat. Didn't matter whether you were in the ILA or whether you were playing in Allora or Orangeville, any barn this weekend that you had to play in. I give shout outs to all the players that played in that heat because not all barns have air conditioning.
Like I said, and that's what I was like, oh, they're such a deep team. Where I think I even noticed Zach walking around the arena Sunday, but not realizing he's suspended. But I was kind of like, oh, that's good he stayed knowing he was going to get sat Sunday. But
we found out he was suspended 2 hours before the game. Again, they used your video footage to get him to lower the Hamilton player got his suspension actually lowered to 1 game, and Zach got a game out of it when he hadn't even been called on a penalty.
So like you say too, how come sometimes they say they take video evidence and sometimes they don't? I don't know.
Do you want my honest opinion?
Sure.
They just pick and choose, probably.
Yeah.
Who sent it in?
Which
Pretty
team?
much,
Which
yeah.
team were they cheering for that game? Pretty much.
I have been told, and I have, I won't say been victim of it, but I have been told no myself. We're trying to send in video evidence where we won't take your video as evidence. Why? The answer used to be because we don't know that it hasn't been tampered with.
Jay's not that good of an editor. Maybe if it was Dea's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, are you gonna edit it or whatever?
I don't even like all apps on my phone that I don't know how to use.
My phone.
So how am I gonna like? I don't even know some of these acronyms for some of this stuff that you guys were explaining to me what the gram was, and I know Chris knows about the hub. I know that, but but I mean, am I that good at editing? Hell no. I could not CGI or whatever the hell it is, a player all of a sudden clubbing somebody and say, oh yeah, I edited that. If I could work that magic, I'd be in Hollywood. I wouldn't be sitting here.
This is
you are in Hollywood, native Hollywood. Yeah, you're on that TV show over there.
Over there.
Yeah,
yeah.
Maybe they edited it for you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. I've been told that years prior, we will not accept your video evidence because we don't know that it hasn't been tampered with. Or the generic answer has been, video evidence or all video has to be agreed upon by both teams prior to the game starting, which means both teams have to agree that, yes, Chris, you can come and film our game. Both of us agree. So with it being broadcasted like it was, clearly both teams agreed. So, yes, they can use that. But had you as a fan come in and filmed that and sent it in, they probably wouldn't let it be used.
Okay, then here's a good question. So how do they get to choose who has the broadcasting rights?
I don't know.
So like, there's multiple streams going on at like any given Rebels or Arrows game, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's probably at least 4 or 5 going on. So like, if someone sends in one angle, I'm sure they can get 4 other ones. But then how do they say that? Oh no, this stream's the one that's the only one that we're going to allow.
Is it because it's the one that shows what they want to see?
But then that also makes me think about all the people who are streaming it currently, who are just like, oh, like what if they were to submit something, or like what if they're doing their Daryl has streaming going on, right? So like, what if they're like, oh, he can't do it, or like if we had streaming, or some other indigenous organization had streaming, or just anything.
And even how come, like I was gonna say, like does Rivermen usually have somebody there filming? Because like you hear the other teams even to say like, oh, we want somebody to film our games from the stands, either with a cell phone or something like that.
Some of those teams bring that big green thing out, the VO thing. Mm-hmm. So like, and then that's the live feed to YouTube or to wherever they want it to go. Mm-hmm. So,
well, and I have to say this, I honestly don't know. I'm only assuming they used video footage from the game that you guys were commentating on. I'm only assuming they used that footage. It may have been somebody else's footage. I don't know. I personally don't know whose footage they viewed.
Yeah, because I would assume that like if they have footage, they would use all of it, right?
You would think so. I also find it odd that they come up with these. I get it. If it's a I won't say a smaller infraction, because a major penalty, some of them dictate an automatic suspension for however many games. Some of those are automatic. It's right in the rule book. But some of those you do have to have a hearing, and we're not getting word on any hearings. So I don't know how that works. Like, I had a player suspended more or less at the beginning of the year, and he was suspended until December 31st without a hearing, at least not to my knowledge, and I don't think he knew either. To me, and I'm guilty of it myself, sometimes, your season is only X amount of days long. Sometimes is the fight worth it? I remember years ago at midget qualifiers, or U17 as it's called now. I think I was talking about this in a different episode. My midget team and I went and stood to watch the Bantams played before us. Six Nations Bantams or U15s played before us. We were standing in the crowd watching. What we weren't aware of is that's the exact spot. About 10 minutes earlier, a fight broke out in the crowd. We heard there was a fight in the crowd. I was like, let's go and watch this game. It's getting chippy. We come in the arena, stood in the exact spot where the fight had happened minutes before, and an OLA official had come up and told me to move. And I said, why? It's a public place. And basically they said, if you don't move, we're pulling your team out of qualifiers. And so I had other parents back then say, you should have stayed, you shouldn't have moved, you should have stayed there. I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand your point 100%. But staying there, getting our team removed from qualifiers, thus basically ending their season, was that worth it at that time, to cut them 3 months of lacrosse into a month and a half or 2 months? To me, no. But I see the reasoning. So at some point, somebody's going to take that stand. And then what's going to happen?
Well, like an incident, like not like that, but kind of similar a little bit, happened at the Confederacy tournament that just happened in a GPA.
When you said you had even having the.
Yeah. So on this, I think it was the Saturday. So I was there the Saturday and the Sunday. You came on the Sunday. On the Saturday of the Confederacy tournament, I believe there was a fight in the crowd. And again, of course, these are all like minor lacrosse, young teams. So there's parents in the crowds all fighting, and the only way they could actually finish the game was by I think Cub made the call, basically just saying that everyone had to leave the whole, like, if you weren't part of the staffing or the players or something like that, you had to leave the whole arena so they could finish the game. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you would just had to call the game. Mm-hmm. So basically, I remember him coming to me after after it all happened, and everything was all chilled out, whatever, and he was just like, I had to do that. At least the kids got to finish the game, and then the kids and the coaches had thanked them that they were able to continue the game, because had they not, it would have just been the parents been like, oh well, not everyone's got to take their ball and go home. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that doesn't solve anything.
No.
But yeah, that was during the Confederacy tournament, and that was a regular. A regular was getting after someone there. He's always getting after people. I like that guy though.
Well, my thing about that whole incident back a few years ago with this midget team that I was coaching, and them telling us we had to move from that certain spot, or if we didn't move, our team would be ejected from the qualifiers. That to me wasn't even the whole issue. The issue was there was a mom who was literally breastfeeding, sitting in the same section. They made her move too. And I even said, what is a mom with a little baby? What threat does she cause? Like, you're making her move too? And yeah, I said to this officially, you just went back to the 1950s segregation.
I mean, like, with that, they could say it could be for her own safety. But
there was nobody else around her.
I don't know.
There was her and her babies, and me and the midget team. She was a mom from here. She had a son on my team. But yet we all had to move, even her and her babies, who were a zero threat to anyone, but there was nobody around her.
Yeah, that's a little extra.
Yeah, and it's the irony of it all is years later, I believe the same OLA official sat in when I got suspended for basically a year. Sat in on the code of conduct hearing.
Right on. Well, any other Oh no, we didn't even get to the Sunday game. That was quite the game. What was the score of that one?
I said, thanks, Jay, for not making it 19-2 again, right? So I was like, hey, can you keep it a little closer? I was like, oh, James Gang comes up, 1-0. That was the only lead they had all game.
I give Ennismore all the credit in the world. In the last few years, they've been a weaker team, but they still show up to play. Like we kept emphasizing that these guys are still playing. You have to keep going. You can't relax on these guys because they're still going. They showed up with almost a full bench, which is any team, like even for the Rivermen, to make that trip to Ennismore, it's kind of dreaded because it's a 3-hour bus ride one way. So I get that on a hot Sunday like that. Kudos to them for having the amount of players that showed up. They had, Chris, 14, 15 guys?
Yeah, they were pretty good. It looked like, I remember when they were in the circle, I thought they might have had less, but then when they went on the bench, I was like, oh, it doesn't look like they're too bad.
So, yeah, they came to play. That team that they dressed on Sunday was a little younger than they've been in last couple of years, but, shout out to them because they still came to play. And it was, I don't think you should let the scoreboard reflect the game itself because they were in it. If you watched each play, they were still in the game.
Oh, yeah, they fought to the end, and they were, like you said, pushing the ball, and they were the goalie. He played good.
He did play well.
Saw a lot of
and they were
really
good
well.
sports about it too.
Yeah,
They weren't trying to. Sometimes you get beat like that, and you just start wanting to fight or something like that, getting dumb calls.
Well, even shaking hands, they all said, "Good luck in the playoffs," knowing we're going to the playoffs and knowing they're not. And I hope in the next couple of years they have the talent out that way. I know they have the talent out that way. Hopefully they can turn it around and be a top 4 contender in the Senior B loop.
For Peterborough being such a lacrosse town, there is a talk of where do their guys go after leaving Junior A Lakers, right? Like a lot of that team was mostly former Junior C Peterborough Lakers, but where does all the Junior A guys go? There's only so many of them that play Senior A.
You know what I would like to see? I would like to see the Ennismore Senior B team play the Lakefield Senior C team. Because that Lakefield Senior C team, they can put on a decent game too. And I think they'd be pretty evenly matched, honestly.
Yeah, so I wonder how many of them actually went to Lakefield Senior C, and
maybe they're not too far from each other. I wonder, I'm going to assume they're probably affiliated. I'm only assuming that because of how close they are to each other.
That's what I think I did bring that up of. I wonder where they're kind of pulling guys from if they needed to be. Like I was like Lakefield Senior C's right there. Then I was like the next they don't have Junior B. They only have Junior C. I was like the next closest Junior B would maybe be like Clarington. Like even kind of when me and Dave were driving to Ganawagi area, we were kind of in that Clarington, Bowmanville area. But I was like, none of those guys are here because they're playing. I didn't say it on the broadcast, but I just said Ganawagi. But our buddies in Ganawagi, I think Ganawagi's got a couple wins, I think, in their second round matchup versus Clarington.
Well, even Peterborough Junior C team, I don't know what they're like this year. I haven't really followed Junior C for a couple of years, but when I was involved with the Junior C Warriors that we used to have, the Peterborough Junior C team was basically a B team. Like you said, they don't have Junior B. They either got A or C. So a lot of those guys that are on the cusp of cracking the Peterborough Junior A team get sent to play Junior C. They were a powerhouse back in the day. So they're probably where a lot of them are coming from, and they're able to play at that caliber because they're basically Junior A players.
Because like you said, like you said that year when they kind of beat you guys, Drew Hutchinson was the goalie, Halifax goalie. Cole Armstrong, right? He only ever played Junior C. I think Hutchinson did move up. And then Hogarth, he talks about he started Junior C. I've heard him talk about before because when he got cut from Junior A, he didn't feel like traveling to play Junior B Clarington, so he just played Junior C Lakers.
Yeah. So there you go. Their C team is putting out good product.
And then I think even during that game on Sunday there, like in the intermission after the second period, I just played Indian Card just as a song to play, and some of the Ennismore players were like, "Oh, is it time to go home already? You're cutting it short." And I just had to laugh because I was like, "Really? Is Indian Card like a thing? Like that's everyone goes home?" Because literally, I heard that. I was just like, one of the players like, "What? Is it time to go home now? Like it's only second period."
They think that was your
closing time song.
Yeah. Closing time. Indian car comes on.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
No, like you said, they strung 2 goals together, and then they just didn't capitalize then on the power play, where I was like, oh, maybe they'll string a couple together here. They did 2, and then you guys shut them down on that, man.
Well, and I got to give shout out to Elin, our goalie Elin. He's pretty steady. He's pretty steady, and him and Ty Belanger, they complement each other back and forth. I mean, people have asked me what happened to Dusty. Dusty's pursuing the rest of the Senior B season with Ganawage. And shout out to them. Maybe we'll see them in Whitby.
And also, I think it was funny. One of the refs came over. Skinnier, smaller ref would come over to your bench there, and I don't know what he was saying, but I think he messed up what he was trying to say. But he was like, "It's black balls" or something like that. And your whole bench was just like, "Hey!"
No, he said the black guy.
Oh,
and Ennismore had black jerseys on. So as soon as he said that, we were like, "Whoa!" And he's like, "Oh, the guy in the black jersey." His last name is Smith.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I had no complaints on the refs. Either game, again, you can complain, but if going back, I always try to tell myself, especially with my good buddy Neil Henhock now, I always try to tell myself, what do the refs see from their point, literally from their point of view? If they're standing here and they're looking that way and they see this, but somebody gets blindsided or hit from behind over here, they can't see that. Yeah, there's 3 refs on the floor, but they can't see everything. And just because, say, you saw something sitting up in the booth doesn't mean they saw it at floor level. So, yeah, sometimes we all get excited about ref calls or about non-calls, but what do we see from their perspective? I remember a fella got suspended because he got after a referee years ago, and one of his things to be allowed back in the OLA as a coach was he had to take a ref's course and actually ref one season, and he did, and he said it's a whole different perspective. So shout out to them, even if I do bitch and complain about them sometimes. I had a ref, like I was telling you guys earlier, I had a ref come out from the Rebels game last night and come up to me in the parking lot. Thanked us for the show. He said he loves it and stuff like that. Even though I might have yelled and called him all kinds of names 20 minutes before, he still come up and is a fan. So shout out to those guys. We need more refs across the board in the OLA because without the refs, we don't have games.
Yeah, and that's lacrosse right there. People get passionate in the moment, but they come back after you and be like, yeah, that was a good game.
Well, I thought about it for quite a while, and I remember chirping a certain ref many times looking back, and now he's a goalie on the Rivermen, Ty Belanger.
Oh. I was like, why?
Yeah, Belanger's a ref too, so I do remember chirping him pretty good.
Then to the Warriors game.
Oh, yeah. We have to get to the Warriors game. I was just making sure that we have time here. Got to check on the time there. But, let's get into the Warriors game. Now, I was not able to go to the Warriors game this week because I was injured. I was on the injured list. I don't even play, but I was on the injured list.
Hey, you're part of a team. They got to put you on the IR sometime.
Yep. But you have a little bit of update on it. I did. You heard about it.
Yeah, and I did. I ended up watching the game Sunday night from the Saturday game. It was on YouTube, so I sat down and watched it, and looked like they let up a few goals early. They did pull their goalie. They were kind of letting him kind of start that game maybe before the playoffs, and they pulled him, and they did come back. They tied it. I think they had a lead, and they lost like 17-12. But they played a good game. I think they did. Even they talked about on the broadcast that GM Danny Weiss said, or no, the coach, I believe, Dustin said, was they were going to play a couple guys maybe that have been sitting for a while and give them a shot before the playoffs. So they had a different lineup in there. Marshall Paulus and Sam Firth played, and they played well, seemed to be doing most of the scoring, which was those two guys. And they were playing Tonawanda anyways. And then talking to the one coach, I seen him during the day for Grand River, he wasn't too sure if Tonawanda was going to come with all their guys, but they pretty much did. Nathan Grenion and a bunch of the guys, their main guys, did play, and that's who they play in the playoffs, as the Tonawanda was the 1 seed, Grand River is the 4th seed. But I was surprised it doesn't start till next week, not this weekend coming up, but the weekend after.
And then are they out there for the?
I'm not too sure
for the first part of it.
Yeah, so I don't know if they. I know like when they played Newtown last year was Friday Newtown, Saturday in Six Nations, and then Sunday Newtown. I don't know if it's going to be similar like that for Tonawanda or how they're going to.
Well, there's a pretty big of a break between playoffs and President's Cup. Like if they're starting their playoffs now, they basically got over a month to complete 2 rounds of playoffs. So whatever rest period they get may be a good thing or it may be detrimental too.
So, okay, so because like I said, you play this weekend and next weekend, correct? To finish off regular season?
Rivermen still have 3 games.
Yeah, so it was 2. That was a 2 this weekend and then 1 next weekend?
1 game for the next 3 weeks.
Well, no, I can't say that. One game next weekend, and I believe the week after that is a Friday, Sunday.
Okay, so that's when so they'll start their playoffs when you're just finishing up the regular season, but with a bye week in between.
Yeah.
So it makes sense then if that's kind of their gist. They don't want guys sitting around for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I can see that being not an issue or nothing like that, but just kind of like you get in the groove of things. You don't have a game every weekend, and you kind of like, yeah, you have a schedule. Your body gets into it. Now all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we got like 2.5, 3 weeks off. It'll be a little bit, but we'll see how they adapt to that. Did you how did Allegheny do?
I couldn't find any updates. I didn't get a chance to talk to Lane until last night, and all he told me is we won lots to a little bit.
We won lots to a little bit? There it is.
The score, I did see somebody put the score out. It was like, I don't know, 17-9 or something like that. I'm not sure of the exact score, and I'm probably not going to check because they won. That's all that I needed to know.
The interesting with Can-Am is playoffs, everybody will all the teams will have their main guys, right? Maybe Sam Firth shows up here and there for Grand River. Maybe the NLL guys on Newtown, Allegheny, Tonawanda, maybe don't make every single game. So when they all have their main guys, we'll have to see who if there's any upsets, maybe the 3 seed beats a 2 seed, maybe the 4 seed beats a 1 seed, or maybe the 1 and 2 goes to the championship. Who knows, right? All 4 teams seem pretty even.
Well, because of this wonderful technology we have, I've got to watch all 4 teams play, so I kind of know what to expect going into the 3rd week of August for President's Cup. And I'm that confident that the Rivermen will be there.
As you are and as you should be. Yeah. Now let's get into the Chiefs. After this, we'll be going to watch the game. Go check it out. It's couples night. It's couples night there at the Chiefs game.
Well, I don't know who's the odd man out because there's 3 of us.
Oh, I'll be the odd man. I'll be the odd man.
Well, I guess you're buying ice cream, Bill.
All right, sounds good.
You heard it. You heard it. Vale's buying ice cream.
Yeah. So who are they playing tonight? You have a little bit of information. There's a little bit of what was it called? A McKay Bowl? I think it was something.
It was Ian McKay of the Chiefs will be playing his other brother. I think it's Ian. I can't pronounce his first name. It was E-I-O-N, Ian or something. He's Ian, and the other guy's name's close to Ian.
Dion?
Brother. Yeah,
Dion.
but they're both McKay. The younger McKay plays at Binghamton, and it's Ian's younger brother of the Bandits and NL champion, right, and MVP. So the little brother, I guess, I don't know if this is his first year senior, but he's been getting some action in. And it looked like the mom on Twitter was a couple shares. She was really pumped for the McKay Bowl and to root both her sons on. And I'm sure that'll be a nice moment for them. It seems to be they're definitely a bit apart. So I don't think they've ever played with each other. And they definitely never played with each other in junior or anything like that. And I'm sure haven't faced each other till tonight. So
now, does the mom go in with a half and half jersey, half Chiefs, half Oakville?
That'd be pretty cool. And like you said, Oakville, they had kind of signed some of those early trades, right, of the Rivermen, so they're kind of our young team.
Yes, the Rivermen did sign. The Chiefs. Where are we? Oakville. Oakville did sign 4 guys actually that were with the Rivermen last year. Their rights went over in a trade with the Chiefs early in the year, so they've signed Sam LeClaire, Caden Brennan, Zane Delpy, and I believe Mason Kaminga. So, shout out to those guys. Sammy LeClaire, he should be an A-baller anyways. Those other 3 guys, they're young, they're going through, they went through the proper steps, B-ball, now they're playing A. And that's the route normally that it would take to get there, and now they're there. So shout out to them. I think Oakville even pulled off a win over Coburg last night. Was it last night or the night before?
I think the Sunday's usually the Coburg night. And then I know one of their other guys, Ty English, they think he may be one of the top 3 draft picks of Toronto Rock, having all 3 1, 2, 3 picks. And they drafted Sam English last year, who's playing, I guess, PLL, so he's not playing Oakville Rock this summer, but his brother Ty's playing Oakville. And So like, there's definitely some younger prospects and some younger guys. Plus, too, on Twitter, there they source was not the NLL account, but another account posted they were pretty sure the NLL draft is going to be September 6th. So that was a little small update. The NLL hasn't posted it yet, but it was just another.
With all that inside
The
news.
NLL draft. Are we getting into that already?
Yeah, I was looking at some of the mock. Like there was already a mock draft out there, and kind of looking at two for the senior A's, how Kohlberg, the Chiefs have been kind of dominating. So there's like the only real bright spots, kind of like looking at some of those younger players on the Kohlbergs and Oakville and Owen Sound, be like, oh, these guys are pretty good. Maybe they're all supposed to be in the draft. But you can tell by their gloves, they're all kind of college players. And
I was since you're bringing up the NLL, I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, like after the playoffs are done, like I'll have more free time like, to do stuff and all that. And then she's like, oh, what, are you gonna stop potting? I'm like, no, we'll be talking about the NLL mix, and then we'll be talking about the ALL. Like it doesn't stop. We don't ever stop. I'm just saying I won't have to be playing music every weekend. But no, this is never gonna stop. It's never stopping, guys.
unless the Snipers or Toronto Rock, if you need a music guy, we know who to call.
Oh, I don't know. You never know.
You can say you made the show. You can say.
I'm down. Like, I have never hated on any team. I support everyone. I have been always. I'm positive, but I'm also devil's advocate. I always ask the questions that.
Like we know our pal Neil Hennock. Like he was pumped to make the show, right?
Half my family works for.
Yeah. So like you said, if we can get you in, well, I'm sure they need.
The Vale community left out the Oswego Bears. They may need a sound.
Oh, there we go. I forgot about them too.
The Oswego Bears. Oh, that's ALL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They don't even play music.
I wonder why.
Oh, I don't know. They don't have a guy.
We'll get you a contract.
ALL, you need a
Give me
DJ.
a contract, totally. Max contract.
Yeah.
I need a chicken wrap. There we go.
Talking about, I guess, like when the NLL, the PA, I did see Halifax like re-signed a Colton Armstrong, and I can't remember if it was Clark Peterson or not, but they re-signed a couple of players, and the NLLPA is still kind of, there hasn't been any real talks of any player strikes or anything. So I don't know if the talks are going good there with them. But I guess at the same time of them doing the players, after that's done, they would have to do the refs next. I said to a ref, I guess they don't want to do you guys and take the league for all its money first. So they do the players before you guys, before the refs.
Well, like, you know how, like, I hate to go back to the OLA, but, like, you know how, like, with the fire last week, they were trying, like, there was, like, talk about, like, OLA sending certain refs and stuff like that, and, like, they represent the league, and they ref a certain way. What if the NLL, to try to discipline the OLA, said, hey, we don't really like what you're doing over there. We're not going to use any of your refs. And they just start using all the refs from, like, you know, the West or something like that. And then that kind of, you know, it's going to affect the pockets of the OLA. And then the NLL could be like, hey, man, just allow people to grow the game, and we'll go back to using all your refs. And it's kind of like, you know, in the political world, it's kind of like when, you know, regimes gather together to make sure that the ecosystem can survive. Because if you have someone over here doing wrong, ruining the ecosystem, then, like, you know, the NLL is not going to get their players that they want, or the...
Like tariffs.
Sure, like tariffs. But you know what I'm saying.
Because I don't know if the NLL kind of, if they look at the guys' summer ball and everything and kind of climbing the ladder, and that's how they get them. And then it seems like, too, like for those exhibition games for the NLL and stuff, they'll fly in a lot of state refs, like they're trying to get more American refs and stuff. And especially, too, I think when the guys were like, a guy was from Louisiana, he said when Panther City had a team, he would drive all those hours because it was kind of easier for the NLL to pay him to drive to the game rather than maybe flying somebody from Ontario in and...
It's still a good drive, though.
It was still like 8-9 hours, right?
New Orleans to Fort Worth, Texas. Fort Worth, Texas was 8 hours.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a drive one way.
Yeah, that was just a random thought I thought I'd throw out there. Every now and then I got some of those.
Some of the works, right?
Yeah, but let's get back to the Chiefs. Do you have any more updates on the Chiefs there? How has the last who they played just recently?
They beat Owen Sound pretty good. They went with like 17 players, 2 goalies, so 14-5, I want to say it was.
Something like that.
I saw that was on like Rogers' TV stream, but it was such a blowout I didn't even bother to really rewatch. But it looked like Josh Burns, he didn't even have to go. It looked like from some Instagram posts following him. It looked like him and his wife were in Florida on vacation. So, but it still looked like they had no call ups, right? I didn't see any Arrows call ups or any Rivermen call ups, right? So they had to go. With
Rivermen
the
had a game the
guys.
same night, so they couldn't go.
And I'm sure the Arrows probably want to give their guys a rest in between the Friday and the Sunday.
Well, I shouldn't say they couldn't go. I let the guys know that the Chiefs wanted them, and they said no, we're playing here because it's a big game.
Yeah.
So, nature of the beast.
Yeah, like this is just another random thought. Like, what about like how you said that Burns was like out and he wasn't even playing. What if like at some point he was just like, hey, it's not even fun no more playing over there because you guys are just too good. Like, you know, like I'm scoring 5 goals a game. Like it's not even competitive anymore. I want to compete. So like, what if players start being like, you know, that like, you know, it's a great team. I love nothing against it and all that stuff, but like, it's just not competitive anymore. We've become too good. Like
where they're going to play?
I don't know. Like I'm just thinking from a competitive standpoint of like the players. What if they ever thought that? Like, do you think players would actually go play for Coburg or something?
Probably not, because Coburg don't have the wallet.
Or what if for the sake of competitiveness? I don't know.
I can't answer that. I can only speak on my team's behalf. Our guys are there because they love to play, because they know that we don't have a wallet. We're a lunchbox team. You put your hard hat on and go to work. And the Chiefs, every one of their players are NLL players. How many of them are actually just playing for the love of the game? Only they can answer that.
And like you said, just like kind of, it does seem like, I know like we talked about the 6 NLL rule, and is it CLA rule, whoever wants to make it more of a developmental league. But it seems like it's already in that, right? Like a lot of these teams are younger players. Like there's not really too many, 30-year-old guys that are established NLL guys playing for those Kohlbergs and stuff like that.
But are they going to cap it? That's the thing. Are they going to cap the number of, like there's rumors everywhere about it. Are they going to cap the number of NLL players that an MSL team can dress or can sign?
Has anybody had a vote on the Senior B one, or is it just a straight up rule?
I'm scared to answer that because then I'll run into a certain OLA official and he'll tell me I'm full of shit again.
Yeah, next year is it going to go to 2? Like I don't know. I thought 5 was pretty reasonable. Like having
I had heard a rumor it was going to 1.
Yeah.
So like, what happens? Like prime example, Hamilton signs 2 NLL goalies, so they wasted an NLL card for one of their goalies to sit on a bench.
That's what I was like saying. I was talking to another member of another senior B team, and then he was talking about he'd rather do like, I think it was either 2 defenders and an offensive player is what he wanted. Because like you said, you got to play the numbers, right? Or like how some of these guys then start popping on some other teams because teams went from 5 down to 3. So then, sorry, bud, we don't got room for you this year. So then they would go to another senior B team or.
Well, that's just it. And then each competitive team in Senior B, they're trying to load up at the deadline. And again, what it boils down to is because I've had messages from players, NLL players, that have did nothing all year, but now they're like, I need compensation. Like, you have to play 4 games in the playoffs in President's Cup. What do you want me to compensate you?
And even yourself, you guys get around it by getting an Aiden Fern, who's an NLL prospect, or Greg Elijah Brown, who's an NLL prospect, where they may be drafted in the NLL this year, but at least at the moment you got them kind of as they're still
David
developing.
Anderson.
Or David. I think he might have 1 more year left at Yale, but hey, still a future prospect, yeah.
Or somebody who is on the cusp. What's going to happen with Thunder? Mm-hmm. I don't see how a team leaves him undrafted. I mean, if he enters the draft, but I don't see how a team leaves him undrafted, at least, even if he doesn't ever play, because the kid's a wizard.
Go send him out there with Jeff T. That'd be
exactly great. Like in the year prior, it was Rossi who was putting on the show, his brother. So now I have them both, and in a few years maybe I'll have Chazzy.
And that's where I saw with like one of the teams was like last year they had the 2 twin brothers from Delaware at the President's Cup, and then this year the one brother played 9 games for the Rush, but then was hurt at the end of the season, but he'll count because he's 9. And then the other brother was on the IR year for the Seal, so he doesn't count. So they take one of the twins, Lanchberry. Another player from Albany just played 2 games, so he doesn't count, right? Because it's 3, right?
4.
I didn't know if it was more than 3. I didn't know if it was 3 or more, or like if it was just like 3 or less.
Well, since we're arguing about rules that we don't really know the exact definition about, is the over 35 rule a thing again?
And people are still talking about that.
They are.
They're like, somebody was like, yeah, didn't Can-Am let this happen? And if you're like 40, you could play. And that's how they're Allegheny was getting Vino, or this guy was getting this guy. And
Is the hometown NLL player rule in effect where it don't count because he's hometown again? I don't know.
Paul Dawson was supposed to play Can-Am all of a sudden. And I know in their show he talks about golfing all the time, so I don't think he was going to play summer ball. But like you said, and then you guys could have called up a Dave Brock, right? He's older and maybe dusted him out of the summer. Like he played NLL this year, but maybe you guys could have been like, hey, you want to come back out?
We could be like that Cambridge hockey team who
gets Todd Bertuzzi.
Yep, just signed Todd Bertuzzi, 50-year-old former NHLer.
And that's probably the big thing, like when even Day and stuff we've talked about, like it's weird how the senior summer ball is a lot of current NLL players, but then senior hockey is 50-year-old former NHL players because it's during that played same time as NHL. So, you know, the belly of the beast, it's more former guy, or even the new league, the Ironmen are in for Six Nations. Brandon Pruss is on a team, and I seen some other guy that won like 3 NHL Stanley Cups with the Blackhawks signed to a team. So guys that are well into their 40s signing senior hockey cards.
Another thing I don't get, and maybe I got to brush up on my Can-Am rules, even though I'm not part of that league. But see, there many guys in the Can-Am have told me that they are allowed to sign. They're allowed to carry a 30-man roster. Okay, so you got to make cuts again when it comes President's Cup time if you get there, because you're only carrying 25 and an extra goalie.
And like I was thinking too, I was like, you're really only better off carrying the 25, because for that kind of team chemistry and stuff, the only way they get lucky is, let's say Tonawanda makes it, and then they're the ones here right now, so let's say they make it. They have 30 guys, but 2 of the guys maybe they wouldn't have cut for President's Cup get hurt. At least they can maybe draw from that extra 5 players, but is that fair? You can't do it, but they can do it.
They're also a league who can pick up players from other teams. I think Ontario and BC are the only ones that aren't allowed to pick up other players from other teams within their league. But all the other provinces can. Can-Am can. Like, I can guarantee that, say Tonawanda makes it, like you said, they have their 2 goalies. They'll grab another goalie from another team. If Allegheny makes it, they'll grab a goalie, maybe a couple of. That's to me, and we've had this argument with CLA officials. Is it fair that other provinces, Can-Am, are allowed to do that? Prime example. A team representing which league was it? 3 Nations last year picked up an AP that didn't play Three Nations. They don't have a minor system, but he played in the FNLA Junior B loop.
Yeah.
But because they're all under the FNLA banner, even the 3 Nations League, he was allowed to go play for the Muskies. Now, this same player is in the OLA this year.
Very true. I know what you're talking about then from last year.
He is in the OLA this year. But if we make it to the President's Cup, we can't pick him up.
Because he's not an affiliate team with you.
Exactly.
Correct? And then that's where, because somebody even had asked me that earlier on, and I'm like, I don't think they can, but who knows? Because like that same team's affiliating with another local team from around here. But
I inquired, and the answer is no. We can't pick him up. But again, different rules in a different league, because he was allowed to go from the FNLA Junior B loop. He played for the War Chiefs last year.
Yep.
And then was allowed to jump into another league and AP up to the 3 Nations representative.
And that's what I was going to, because in 2015, a lot of those, like you said, FNLA War Chiefs players AP'd with one of the 3 Nations leagues, all those Junior B guys, right? Like being like, oh, it's Junior, that's 3 Nations, this is FNLA, plus 2 Can-Am players. I remember a few years ago were allowed to AP for 3 Nations as well. So that player was on Allegheny. He got to get picked up by that 3 Nations team. And then also guys from like when the Ox Destiny Bucks were 3 Nations the first time, or Can-Am the first time around, they picked up some Can-Am players, and then other Can-Am players were able to get picked up by the 3 Nations team. And then So yeah, like you said, yeah, just everybody kind of getting picked up by everybody, right? And like kind of
Sounds like a high school dance.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah,
sounds like a,
yeah. Everybody's got a couple there, right?
is that a Rivermen dance or?
And even this was a kicker in 2017. Talking to the former commissioner of the Three Nations League, they let our former Heina Thompson. He played like 1 or 2 games for Onondaga during the season. And then he went to the St. Regis Braves, who are now folded in Three Nations. He only played, I think, like 3 games for them, but the St. Regis Braves. But that commissioner let his Onondaga games come over to Three Nations account, and the former Tynanega team, I guess, was mad at him for letting that happen. But he said, we're all under the FNLA banner, so I'll let his Onondaga games count towards St. Regis. And his laughing was, hey, I let Tynanega pick up Mark Matthews and Shane Jackson. It's not my fault they got beat out by the St. Regis Braves. So, right? He's like, I still let those guys get all the transfers in for those 2 all-star players. And, you know, he's like, and then I just let Heina Thompson, yeah, one of your games count. And he's like, and then Tynanega lose and then try to call a legal player, I guess, on him. So,
Politics.
yeah.
Politics. But yeah, we don't. I think we started off with how many players were allowed in the MSL. So yeah, hopefully that number stays the same, because we don't need Josh Burns going down to Masters League and running out the score on you.
He won't. Not with that sniper over there.
I have a 22 jersey for him.
Oh, you got the 22 jersey. You gonna start recruiting them?
Yeah.
All those Chiefs players are just like, hey, you want to compete? Come play Masters.
We did one time with we were playing a charity thing. It was when Dan Dawson was with The Rock, and we were outside, and I think he got talking. I was like, hey, you want to come in? We got a jersey for you. He's like, I've played plenty of games for Nations. And I'm like, yep. And once you retire from this league, come from here. We were looking for one of the guys. He plays now on Rochester as a defender. His brother played from St. Catharines. His brother played with us the last 2 years, and was like, hey, my brother's not signed to any summer teams. He's just coaching his son. He wants to come play Masters, because I think he runs in their house league in Niagara during the season. But we're like, no. He keeps going. Even though he's 40, he's still been playing in LL. And even the commissioner or some local St. Catharines guys were like, yep, he keeps delaying that Masters career because he goes back for one more year of the NLL every season.
He's going to end up on your team?
Yep, I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
You're trying.
Like, come on, retire.
Retire. We need you.
Yeah.
All right. I have a few questions here before we get out of here. Okay, we kind of got into some of these, I guess. So actually, no, we have some questions from some people from last week that we actually didn't get to. Someone was asking for all of us, if not anything to do with lacrosse, what was your guys' dream job?
Wee little kid, I wanted to be a vet, and before that, I thought about being like a gym teacher, coach, something like that.
Did you want to be a vet?
Like when I was wee little, like real little.
Oh, you want
10,
like
11?
like help animals and stuff?
Yeah.
Right on. What about you?
I wanted to be a cop.
You want to be a cop?
I still want to be a cop.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I can pass the physical test, though.
Maybe you can work in admin.
Does it give me a badge and a gun?
Probably does.
So you can do an office pop.
Yeah.
You watch those guys, right? The other guys?
The other guys, yeah. The other guys. Oh, Mall Cop and Paul Blart. Oh, I seen. So when we posted all this stuff on Instagram and stuff, I said I was the Adam Sandler of lacrosse and stuff, and someone said that if I'm Adam Sandler, then you're Kevin James.
Well, there we go.
Yeah,
He's a Long Island resident.
Long Island residents? Yeah, it's in the blood.
So is Mick Foley, though.
Yeah.
And I've called you Mick Foley, too.
And fun fact, they're both from Ward Melville.
Yeah.
High school teammates.
And then I think, there was a second part of that question. Did lacrosse ever take away from your dream job or contribute towards it? I don't understand that part of it, but it was part two of the first question. So, I guess, did lacrosse have anything to do with your dream job, and did lacrosse contribute to it?
Lacrosse has brought me. It's pretty much kept me on a pretty straight path as far as wanting to be a cop. I have a lot of friends who played lacrosse who are cops. I have police officers on the Rivermen now on the bench and as players, good friends of mine. I don't ever bring up their job because they're not there as constable or officer this or that. They're there as the player or the coach. So I'd rarely bring up the job part of it. We got guys. We got one player that's just on his way to OPC, Ontario Police College, probably when the season's done or during. But has it taken me away from the job? Well, one, I didn't ever get the job. Two, it's kept me pretty close to police officers who are also a long time friends. So I'm going to say lacrosse didn't take me away from it, but it helped me probably stay in line with the field that I wanted to go into and did enter. And now that my consolation is I have really good friends who are police officers.
Right on. And then you said that you wanted to be a vet. What do you think made you want to be a vet?
When I was a real little kid, I was really into dogs. And I used to,
Rephrase that, please.
I used to go to I used to know a lot about.
The way you looked at me and said that. When I was younger, I was really into dogs.
I used to know a lot about different dog breeds, and I used to go to the Westminster Dog Show and everything like that. And,
so you mean you could be on a whole other podcast about dogs?
back in the day when I was.
What else do you know about dogs?
Just like breeds and stuff like that. I'd be like, oh, it's an Australian Shepherd. They're bred for this. I'm saying this was like when I was a little kid, right?
So you just been scouting dogs and scouting players.
Yeah, just switched it all around when I was about 12 and just went full lacrosse.
Oh my God!
So lacrosse then took him away from his dream job.
Yeah.
Well, sports, I just was like, it's like I'm saying when I was 10 and under, I was real into and we used to go to I went twice to the Westminster Dog Show and MSG and stuff like that. But
I take it you had a dog growing up.
Yeah.
What kind of dog did you have?
Just some mixed breeds. Not maybe they could have been res dogs.
I was going to say,
always.
He had a res mutt.
And then I have a beagle now and stuff, so I do dogs and stuff like that. So our beagle.
I don't know what's a beagle. Is it
a smaller dog? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, named King and stuff. So we've had him for a couple of years now and stuff, and take care of him and everything. So he's good stuff. And then. Like I said, then probably now would just be having my job now. I probably wouldn't work in lacrosse or in a sports store if it wasn't for lacrosse, right? I would maybe have been as interested into doing that.
Yeah.
And what about you?
Oh, well, as a kid, I wanted to be an inventor. Yeah, I just wanted to invent things. I wanted to make things happen out of thin air. I wanted to dream about them at night and make them become reality in real life.
Well, I think you did, or we wouldn't be sitting here.
It's full circle.
Indubitably.
Yeah, learning a lot. We got you wanted to be a police officer. We got a dog guy. Mm-hmm. For all the dog people, leave some comments. Just go in the comment section and leave dog emojis.
I used to go, hey, that we'd walk around New York City. Hey, that's an Australian Shepherd. Hey, nobody knows what my dog is. That's pretty cool. You knew. And I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. See, you've been in these streets. Yeah. Been in the streets with the dogs. Yeah. Vale, Marcy Project.
Now we're all just got the little dog in us, right?
Yeah. But I wanted to invent things. So producer, same thing, making stuff up out of thin air, out of your mind and stuff. But we have a lacrosse game to get to. So do we have any last minute topics or anything to talk about before next week? Or actually, wait, we're not going to be here next week. Just things going on, so until the week after that. So for everyone listening, make sure that you're following us on Instagram, following all the reels, and you're checking out all the last episodes. But anything to add?
I met I had been reached out to through social media a few months back. This fellow named Jared. He's from the Pittsburgh area. He started the Valor Lacrosse Club. Through conversation, back and forth, I got the gist of what he's trying to do. He started a lacrosse program in Pittsburgh for military veterans to give them a place, give them a safe space where they want to talk, they want to run, whatever. This lacrosse club is doing that for them to help them deal with their mental, their spiritual, their emotional well-being. He's got a lot of big events coming up. He actually made the trip here. He's been down for a few days. Tonight he'll be at the Chiefs game, and I think that will be, he has watched every level of lacrosse we have from Junior C now to MSL. He had reached out to myself, and shout out to Larson Sundown, because Jared was picking our brain, basically asking questions, the history of the game, what it's played for, stuff like that, and asked if I would be one of the Valor Lacrosse Club advisors. So he's got a few projects coming up. He does want to play a version of our medicine game, and I was in full agreement. Some people may not be. That as long as he emphasizes on why the game is played, as far as the medicine game itself, who we play for, what the reasoning behind it is. We gave him a big history. Larson has been a gem as far as helping him as well. And yesterday, or a couple days ago, he gave me this jersey, and I think it's pretty cool. There's the logo. He's incorporated the Confederacy belt in there for us because he has that honor and respect for our people and where the game comes from. He put my name on the back and the number 22. Now, I'll emphasize that wasn't my number when I played, but the number 22 is very symbolic to military veterans because there's 22 veterans daily that we lose to suicide. So that number 22, although a statistic, is very important to a lot of people, a lot of veterans, a lot of their families, a lot of military guys. That is very important. So I'm very humbled and honored that he did this for me, and has even thought that he should include not only one of our people but me and myself and Larson. I can't go on to speak for Larson, but I know what a great kid he is because I've had the honor of coaching him when he was a little younger. But shout out to Jared at Valor Lacrosse Club because they're doing great things, and I really appreciate this. I mean, I told him I would wear it here, kind of in a cramped space. I don't know if I'll put it on, but I did have it on for a photo op with him, and it'll be hung up. I'm not wearing it again because this has a spirit of its own, so it needs to be honored, and I'll do my best to do that.
Yeah, I was glad that he was able to make the trip because, he was supposed to come down kind of during when we were having the photo shoot for Six Nations Minor Lacrosse, but, the timing and all that stuff. But, so I was glad to see him come down, and then when he came down, he was like, he did all of our pictures. Of course, you guys will now see them. They're on Instagram. Hit the like button, follow us all.
Or chirp if you got it.
Yeah, or chirp, whatever. And, I'm just really glad that, we're able to grow the game and connect people, because for him to come all the way, where was he from again? Pittsburgh. To come all the way from Pittsburgh and to say that like the Creators game was like the purpose of hey, like the messages that you guys bring and everything that you guys are doing inspired him to do something more, and then to want to involve you in the project. That's growing the game. That's growing something positive out there.
That's all we want is to grow this game, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very appreciative of Jared. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, no, it was great meeting him. Like you said, this is the one place you can go to and watch all the games, right? Just watch all the levels right at once. Not that many communities you could do that, and I was very humbled too by the fact that he was like, "Hey, you guys," kind of gave me the idea of listening to you guys to come down here and watch. Like he did say he's been to Newtown, Cattaraugus games or Allegheny before, but the fact that we were like listening to us made him be like, "Hey, I want to come here and experience."
Yeah, and for anyone out there who wants to come to Six Nations and experience lacrosse, come. It's amazing. It's the Mecca of lacrosse. And until next week, we're out of here. Peace.